One has a red beard, the other has a black beard. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians Beardcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to find out more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at www.beardedtheologians.com. Welcome to this week's Beardcast. I'm Matt Franks.
And I'm Zach Bechtold.
And this week, the Bearded Theologians, we're going to talk about moving. Zach is in the process of moving to a new appointment, and we felt that this would be a great week to talk about that. As on this day, he'll actually probably be in a moving van heading up the great state of New Mexico. And so, Zach, what are some things that we probably should share in regards to moving as a clergy family?
It's tough. Moving's tough no matter what your profession is. But moving as a clergy family, you're leaving one ministry position where you've built relationships with a ton of people, with most of the people in your church, if not all of them. And now you're moving directly out of that into a new one. And the hardest thing, I think, moving as a clergy family is you're coming into a church that you're going to meet, in some cases, several hundred people, or in our case, it's going to be several hundred people that we're going to be meeting. Names are tough for me to remember, and that's kind of overwhelming. That on kind of the personal end. On the other end of moving, going through stuff. Going through memories, going through all the things that we have in our house, packing those things up, reminiscing, and then decluttering, getting rid of things, making that tough decision of we don't need this anymore. And it's really caused us to reflect on our personal lives as well. Michael and I have gone through and talked about things that we don't need to do anymore, things that we'd like to change about how we interact with people or interact with our children, some things that we want to do. We want to add these experiences. We want to do more camping since we're going to be closer to the mountains. We want to make sure we vacation, take intentional vacations, and take a break throughout the year, and be with our kids more, and do things with them that kind of suit them. So it's given us the opportunity to kind of reevaluate our lives as a family, reevaluate the way that we want to do ministry and approach it in a new place, and as well we've been able to throw some things away, give them to people, sell them, however. It's been a chance to declutter throughout.
You're not talking also about the thing behind you. Is that thing still for sale?
This thing is not for sale. Fortunately, we have blessed somebody with this monstrosity of a thing. It's heavy, and I'm glad it's not coming with this.
Well, and I think as we think about moves, it's always hard. I know I'm in my third appointment, so I've done the appointment thing 3 times. And while there has been some kind of nice things about what are you going to take with you to your new house and your new appointment, there's also a lot of pain that goes along with moving as a clergy family. It's how to handle those relationships that you had, and some of them are very close relationships. And I know in the Oklahoma conference they really frown upon you not, staying connected and making sure that you never go back for funerals and all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of hard. I've had this appointment, I've had to tell a lot of people no. That I can't come back for various reasons. Sometimes I've got responsibilities here that I've got a ministry job that I really need to do here, and I can't go. I'm not your minister anymore, and to allow the new minister to have that ability to go and minister to those people, because in those times, that's when you can make that a strong connection. I can't tell you how many times. Maybe it was a family that never came to church since I started the appointment, but then when they got to know me and I got to know them, they started coming and connecting because they felt that I was really their pastor. And I found those times helpful. Weddings, the same thing. We've actually had a couple of people come to the church because of a wedding. I performed their wedding. They gave me all the stuff that that I always require to do for weddings, and then they enjoyed me so much, and they enjoyed the congregation when I suggested that they visit. That they are now kind of, two of the couples are vital congregant members in our congregation, and those times are important, and it's hard to walk away from those that we have as we move into a new appointment. But I also think that it's also healthy too, that moving into a new appointment allows you not to get stuck in a rut and maybe be doing the same things all the time. But it also allows to see where your gifts and graces really are. I've really discovered that, especially in this appointment, that I definitely have a great gift for handling communication and church communications, and I've really enjoyed getting to do that out here. And that's kind of built up along the way, and I think in the moving process has allowed me to flesh a lot of that out. Whereas if I stayed somewhere, I probably would have never discovered some of the gifts and graces that I have, or have just been sitting on and never really got to use. Also, like with the family, we have. My oldest daughter, she writes a letter to some of her friends in the places that she's been. Just this past weekend at camp, my youngest daughter went to camp with a friend from the church that we were at in Norman. They came to camp together, and they got to be best buds, which was great because now she can have a camp friend that she can go to camp with, and that's always kind of a nice thing to have. But moving is tough. It's never easy. And even on the congregational side, I know there's always apprehensions about the new pastor, and especially if they get really settled with you and how you are and how you operate. It's always hard to make that transition. And I feel one of the things that I've always done is that for the new person, I always try to be their PR person and pump them up and say, hey, this is what I know about them, and they're going to be, they're going to help you all in this way, and just allow the Spirit to work, because God has obviously called for this chapter to be different for you all as well, just as it is for me, and walk with them. I think one of the hardest problems we have with moving is that we tend to check out, and one of the things that I learned from Bill Hybels in his book Axiom was to finish well. And to make sure that your last day was as strong as your strongest day in your church, and that everything you do is geared for kingdom building versus hey, I'm done. I'm not going to be the pastor in a few weeks. I don't really care about this issue. There are some issues that you really probably should attend to and help the church out, because if you check out, your church members are going to check out, and that makes it harder for the next person to come in and handle ministry. And it is kind of it's kind of like a relay race where you're passing the baton. Make sure you have everything that they need to be able to be successful, and pave the way for your next person to be successful, because you really want the appointment to continue to be successful even after you leave, because that's how we really understand the fruits of what we're doing as ministers. So Zach, as you think about getting ready to move, what are some other things that kind of pop up within this conversation that we've had today?
You talk about the relationships that we miss. We make friends, and as pastors, as clergy families, it's hard to make friends sometimes. And so when you have those really deep relationships and connections with people, those are certainly tough to leave. But the thing about it is we can still have those friendships and relationships and let the new pastor come in and be pastor. It's hard, it's difficult, and those are the hard things to leave. But it's part of what we do. You talked about moving around in the itinerant system, and the appointment system. That's probably the question I get the most from other clergy people from other denominations is, well, they tell you where to move. Isn't that hard? Well, it's one of the things we signed up for. But it also, like you said, it allows us to go and see where our gifts and graces are, to try new things. And hopefully it allows us not to get stuck in ruts as much. It keeps our ministry fresh, keeps our passion for it fresh, and it keeps our scenery fresh. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy to move, but it's what we signed up for, and it's what we believe we're called to, and how God calls us. So I don't know. I like it. It's tough, but like you said, it gives us a chance to grow and flourish in a new place with new things, and maybe something we didn't think we were good at. We get to try that. And then, like you said, I want to echo that encouragement to churches receiving new pastors this season. It doesn't matter where they were before. It doesn't matter what town, what community, what church they were at, what what political affiliation or what leaning that certain community has compared to yours. It really doesn't matter. The ministry that we do is in contrast and context in the churches that we're at. And I want to encourage all of you who are listening, who are getting a new pastor, don't let that bother you. Don't let that even creep in. Take the pastor that you're getting, the new one, and just love them to death, because they were sent there. We believe that we're sent by God, that we heard God's calling to come to your church, and that's what's important. We want to do ministry with you. And so keep that in mind for those of you who are receiving new pastors, for those of you who are receiving me as a new pastor. We want to be with you. We want to build relationships with you. And that doesn't mean we leave behind all the churches we've been at in the past. No, we keep those relationships and build those as well, but we're with you, doing ministry with you, and that's what's important. And that's tough sometimes. Because when you lose a pastor, they were friends, they were pastors, they were there in the good times and in the bad times, and that's tough to move from. But know that your new pastor coming in wants to be there just the same. They love you, we love you, and we want to be there for you. And so I want to encourage you to let us, whether you're getting a new pastor or not, you're keeping an old one. Let your pastor be there for you. Let him love you, and then love him back just the same. That's a good, healthy relationship for a church to have.
I also think one of the things I've kind of experienced in the 3 moves that I have is that there's a learning curve. You're not going to come in on the first day as a pastor or even as a congregation and be like, everything's going to be perfect, everything's going to be polished, everything's going to be sparkly clean in the way that it should be. There's a learning curve. And for what I've discovered in my 3 moves, for each congregation, it's different. I can't tell you like, oh, it's a 6-month learning curve, because that's not the case. I know, like in my transition here to Locust Grove, it was almost about a 1.5 year transition. I really now feel that I'm kind of in a groove, and I've got things kind of lined out the way I like them. And I can remember the first 6 months of trying to do worship was very difficult because we were still trying to learn from each other. They were so set in one way, and I've kind of been schooled in another, and it's been really entertaining. And just own up to your mistakes and say, hey, I'm the new guy. I'm learning this, and that actually helps the church as well to own up to who they are. And I also look at it as part of you're sharing a story. And so for each pastor that you have, or even for us, it's an appointment. One of the things I started doing in my Facebook for my photos is that when I take photos of things, this is from the Calumet chapter, this is from the Norman chapter, this is from the Locust Grove chapter. And that's really what we're doing in this large narrative of life. The real question is, how do you want your narrative to speak? And I think that's something I've always tried to strive for, is that I want my narrative to be a solid narrative that is truly Christ-centered, and that people can look back upon the chapter that was me and say, wow, that was a great chapter that we had. And I think that's something that sometimes we get lost in the shuffle of that. And that churches and pastors should really realize that this is a time, and this is a chapter that we write together, and how that chapter plays out really takes God and us and the church to really be actively listening to where God is calling them to be. So
no, I like that, and on that, we are all a part of each other's journey. We all have a place in that, with God walking alongside us and guiding us. And with that, whether you're moving or you're staying, no matter where you are, know that coming in to love you and do ministry with you. And we hope and pray that you do the same with them. Thanks for checking out the Beardcast this week. We want to remind you about our meme contest that's going through July 1st. You got another week to send in your memes. If you're done with the annual conference and you're slow on the comedy sometimes like I am, and you lay in bed at night and you think, oh, that would have made a great meme, make it a meme, post it on our page. You could win a coffee mug, just like the one Frank's is about to hold up. Huh? Oh, he didn't hold it up. Oh, there it is. Nice. So coffee mugs, we're going to give them away. And put your memes on. We've enjoyed the ones that you've posted. They're great. There have been some really solid ones. So keep posting those. Keep sending them our way. Send your conversations our way. We'd love to hear from you any way possible. Post on our Facebook page, the Twitters, and the Instagram. We're all there. Check out our website. We've got a store there. Buy a shirt, buy a mug, buy stickers. Put them up all over the place. But we want to thank you for being faithful listeners and enjoying and being in conversation with us. For the Bearded Theologians, I'm Zach Bechtold.
And I'm Matt Franks.
And thanks for checking us out.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to the Bearded Theologians. If you'd like to find out more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at www.beardedtheologians.com. Thank you, and we hope you have a blessed day.
I'll come down and go see Bone Thugs with you.